Ethan Carter had always been a man who valued efficiency. His life was built around precision, whether it was closing multi-million-dollar deals or deciding which restaurant to visit for dinner. That evening, however, he found himself breaking routine by walking into a small diner on the outskirts of Chicago. It wasn't glamorous or trendy like the places he usually frequented, but something about its neon sign flickering through the rain-soaked streets caught his attention. He told himself it would be a quick stop before heading back to his penthouse, a rare detour from his usual schedule. The bell above the door jingled softly as Ethan stepped inside. The air smelled of fried onions, coffee, and freshly baked pie. Wooden booths lined the walls, their surfaces worn smooth by years of use. A jukebox played a faint melody in the corner, blending with the low hum of conversation. For a moment, Ethan felt out of place. His tailored navy blue suit and leather shoes stood out among the casual attire of the other patrons, but he didn't care. There was something comforting about the simplicity of the scene, a stark contrast to the high-stakes world he lived in every day. He took a seat at one of the booths near the window, glancing around while pulling out his phone to check messages. As he scrolled absent-mindedly, a movement across the room caught his eye. At first, he thought it was just another waitress moving between tables, balancing trays laden with burgers and milkshakes, but then she turned and time seemed to freeze. It was Claire Monroe. Ethan blinked, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him. He hadn't seen her in over a decade, not since they graduated from college together. Back then, Claire had been one of the most ambitious people he knew. She was smart, driven, and full of ideas that bordered on revolutionary. They weren't close friends, but they shared several classes and late-night study sessions where they talked endlessly about changing the world. Her dream had been clear: to create sustainable energy solutions that could transform entire communities. Everyone believed she'd succeed, and yet here she was wearing a faded apron and carrying a pitcher of water, refilling glasses for strangers. For a second, Ethan considered ignoring what he saw. Maybe it wasn't even her. People changed over time. Memories could deceive you. But there was no mistaking those sharp green eyes or the way her dark hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Even now, despite the years and circumstances, Claire carried herself with quiet dignity. "Excuse me," a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was her. She stood beside his table, holding a notepad and pen, her expression polite but distant. "Can I get you started with anything?" Her tone was professional, neutral. If she recognized him, she gave no indication. Ethan hesitated, caught off guard. Part of him wanted to ask outright why she was working here, but he stopped himself. Instead, he smiled and nodded. "Sure, just a coffee for now, please." Claire scribbled down his order and walked away without another word. Ethan watched her go, his mind racing. What had happened to her? How did someone so brilliant end up waiting tables in a diner miles away from the cutting-edge labs and research facilities she once dreamed of? He couldn't shake the feeling that fate had led him here for a reason. When Claire returned with his coffee, Ethan decided to test the waters. "You look familiar," he said casually, stirring sugar into his cup. "Have we met before?" She paused, studying him for a moment. Then her lips curved into a faint smile. "Maybe. This city's smaller than it seems." "I'm serious," Ethan pressed gently. "I think we might have gone to school together. Engineering program, right?" Recognition flickered in her eyes, followed by something else. Resignation, perhaps, or maybe caution. "Yeah, I remember you," she admitted finally. "Ethan Carter. You were the guy everyone said would change the tech industry." "And you were Claire Monroe," he replied, leaning forward slightly. "The genius who talked about renewable energy nonstop. We worked on a project together once, didn't we?" Claire nodded, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "That was a long time ago." "Too long," Ethan agreed. Before he could say more, another customer called her name, and she excused herself with a polite nod. Ethan sat back, sipping his coffee slowly, watching as she moved gracefully between tables. Each interaction was brief but genuine, her focus entirely on serving others. It struck him how different this version of Claire was from the fiery, outspoken student he remembered. Life had clearly taken its toll on her, shaping her into someone quieter, more reserved. As the minutes ticked by, Ethan debated what to do next. Should he leave after finishing his drink, pretending this encounter never happened? Or should he dig deeper, try to understand why Claire's path had diverged so drastically from his own? Whatever decision he made, one thing was certain. Seeing her here tonight had stirred something within him. Curiosity, guilt, admiration, or maybe all three. By the time Ethan paid his bill and stood to leave, he'd already resolved to return. Whether Claire liked it or not, their paths were crossing again. And this time, Ethan intended to make sure their story didn't end in a diner. A quiet moment in a retro diner during a break. Claire Monroe sits on a stool near the counter, wearing her waitress uniform but looking thoughtful and slightly vulnerable. Ethan Carter stands nearby, dressed in an expensive suit, holding a cup of coffee. The background features soft lighting, vintage decor, and empty booths. Their body language suggests a serious yet friendly conversation, with Ethan leaning forward, slightly as if sharing something important while Claire listens intently. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Claire after leaving the diner that night. Her face lingered in his mind, not just because she looked different from the confident young woman he once knew, but because of the questions her presence raised. How had someone so talented ended up waiting tables? What had happened to her dreams of revolutionizing renewable energy? These thoughts gnawed at him until he decided to visit the diner again the very next day. This time, Ethan arrived earlier, around noon when the diner wasn't as busy. He spotted Claire almost immediately. She was wiping down a table near the window, her movements methodical and calm. When she noticed him walking in, there was a flicker of surprise on her face, quickly masked by professionalism. "Back so soon?" she asked lightly, though her tone carried a hint of curiosity. "I wanted to talk," Ethan replied, gesturing toward an empty booth. "Do you have a minute?" Claire hesitated, glancing toward the kitchen where her manager stood chatting with another employee. "I'm working," she said cautiously, "but I can take my break if you want." "That works," Ethan said with a nod. A few minutes later, they were seated across from each other in the same booth where Ethan had sat the previous night. Claire rested her elbows on the table, studying him carefully. "So, what did you want to talk about?" she asked. Ethan took a deep breath, unsure how to begin. "I've been thinking about college," he started. "About all those late nights we spent cramming for exams or brainstorming ideas that seemed impossible back then. Do you remember any of that?" Claire smiled faintly, her gaze distant. "Of course I do. Those were good times. We thought we could change the world. And some of us did," Ethan added softly. "Look at me. I built a company. I'm living proof that dreams can come true." "But not everyone gets that chance," Claire interjected, her voice tinged with bitterness. She caught herself and sighed. "Sorry, that came out wrong." "No, it's okay," Ethan assured her. "I get it. Life isn't fair, but you were supposed to be one of the success stories. What happened, Claire?" For a long moment, she didn't answer. Her fingers traced the rim of her coffee mug absently as she gathered her thoughts. Finally, she spoke. "After graduation, I tried. I really did. I worked odd jobs to save money while pitching my ideas to investors. Eventually, I managed to start a small company focused on solar technology. Things were going well, at first." Ethan leaned forward, hanging on to every word. "What went wrong?" "Everything," Claire admitted with a rueful laugh. "The funding dried up. My partners bailed. And then, mistakes happened. Big ones. By the time I realized what was going on, it was too late. The business collapsed, and I was left with nothing but debt." "That must have been tough," Ethan murmured sympathetically. "It was," Claire agreed. "But life goes on. You pick yourself up and keep moving. I may not be curing climate change or building robots anymore, but I'm surviving. That counts for something, doesn't it?" Ethan nodded slowly, though he couldn't help feeling unsettled. Here was Claire, a person who had once inspired hope and innovation, reduced to serving meals in a diner. It felt wrong, like a waste of potential. But more than that, it reminded him of how easily people could fall through the cracks, no matter how bright their beginnings. You know, he said after a pause, you shouldn't have to settle. Not someone like you. Claire raised an eyebrow, skeptical. Someone like me? What does that even mean? It means you're brilliant, hardworking, and resourceful, Ethan explained earnestly. You deserve better than this. Everyone does. She shook her head, smiling sadly. It's sweet of you to say that, Ethan, but reality doesn't care about talent or ambition. Sometimes things just don't work out. He frowned, unwilling to accept her resignation. Maybe they haven't worked out yet, but that doesn't mean they won't. Claire tilted her head, intrigued despite herself. Are you trying to give me a pep talk? Because I appreciate it, but I'm fine. A sleek modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a bustling city skyline at sunset. Ethan Carter stands beside a large desk filled with blueprints and tech gadgets, gesturing enthusiastically as he explains something to Claire Monroe. Claire sits in a leather chair, dressed casually but neatly, her expression a mix of curiosity and determination. The room is bathed in warm golden light, highlighting the high-tech equipment around them, including holographic displays and advanced computers. The atmosphere feels professional yet welcoming. The next morning, Claire found herself standing outside a towering skyscraper in downtown Chicago. It was one of those glass and steel buildings that seemed to scrape the clouds, its surface reflecting the pale morning sun. She took a deep breath, clutching the strap of her bag tightly as she stared up at the top floors where Ethan's company was headquartered. This wasn't just any job interview. It felt like stepping into another world entirely. Inside, the lobby was even more impressive than she'd imagined. Polished marble floors gleamed under soft lighting, and employees moved briskly through automatic doors, their arms full of tablets and documents. Claire approached the front desk nervously, introducing herself to the receptionist. Within minutes, she was escorted to an elevator that whisked her upward to the executive suite. When the doors opened, Ethan was waiting for her. He greeted her, warmly, his smile putting her slightly at ease. Welcome, he said, extending a hand. I'm glad you came. Thanks for inviting me, Claire replied, shaking his hand firmly. Despite her nerves, she tried to project confidence. After all, this wasn't her first time walking into unfamiliar territory. It just felt bigger this time. Ethan led her into his office, which offered a breathtaking view of the city below. The walls were lined with shelves holding awards, prototypes, and framed photos of him alongside influential figures. A massive desk dominated the center of the room, covered in papers, laptops, and what looked like miniature models of drones. Claire couldn't help but feel a pang of awe, and maybe a little intimidation. So, Ethan began, motioning for her to sit. Let me tell you about the project I mentioned. He launched into an explanation, his passion evident in every word. The project involved designing autonomous drones capable of repairing infrastructure in remote or disaster-stricken areas. These weren't ordinary drones. They would use artificial intelligence to assess damage, transport materials, and execute repairs without human intervention. It was cutting-edge technology, blending robotics, engineering, and sustainability in ways Claire had never seen before. As Ethan spoke, Claire leaned forward, captivated. This was exactly the kind of work she'd dreamed of doing back in college, work that could make a real difference in the world. But as exciting as it sounded, doubts crept in. Could she really step back into the field after so many years away? Did she still have what it took to succeed? I can see the wheels turning, Ethan said with a chuckle, interrupting her thoughts. What do you think? It's incredible, Claire admitted honestly. But why me? There are probably dozens of engineers out there who are more qualified. That's not true, Ethan countered quickly. You're uniquely suited for this role because of your background in renewable energy. We need someone who understands both the technical side and the broader impact of our work. Plus, he paused, studying her intently. I trust you, and I know you won't give up when things get tough. Claire swallowed hard, touched by his faith in her. Still, she hesitated. "This sounds amazing, Ethan, but I don't want special treatment. If I join this team, I want to earn my place, not walk in because we're old friends." "You'll earn it," Ethan assured her. "This isn't charity, Claire. It's an opportunity. For both of us. You bring ideas and expertise that no one else can. Think of it as a partnership." The word struck a chord within her. Partnership, not pity, not obligation, but collaboration. For the first time in years, Claire allowed herself to imagine a future beyond the diner. "What happens next?" she asked quietly. "If you're interested, we'll start tomorrow," Ethan replied. "You'll meet the team, review the current designs, and dive into the details. No pressure, we'll take it step by step." Claire nodded slowly, weighing the decision. On one hand, this was everything she'd once hoped for, a chance to innovate, to create, to leave a mark on the world. On the other hand, failure loomed large in her mind, whispering warnings of disappointment and regret. Yet deep down, she knew she couldn't turn away from this opportunity, not without at least trying. "Okay," she said, finally meeting his gaze. "I'm in." Ethan grinned, visibly relieved. "Great. You won't regret it." Over the next hour, they discussed logistics, her role, the timeline, and expectations. Ethan answered her questions patiently, ensuring she felt comfortable before leaving. As Claire walked out of the building later that afternoon, she felt a strange mix of emotions swirling inside her. Excitement, fear, hope, and determination. Whatever lay ahead, she realized, would be challenging, but also meaningful. Back in his office, Ethan watched her leave through the window, feeling a sense of satisfaction. He hadn't been sure how Claire would respond, but seeing her enthusiasm, reignited, reminded him why he'd reached out in the first place. Together, they might just accomplish something extraordinary. For now, though, it was enough to know they were taking the first steps toward rebuilding. Not just a project, but a dream. A high-tech laboratory filled with advanced equipment, glowing screens and prototypes of drones on workbenches. Claire Monroe stands in the center, wearing a lab coat and safety goggles, her expression focused as she examines a drone component. Around her, a diverse team of engineers works collaboratively, some typing on computers, others discussing blueprints or adjusting machinery. Ethan Carter watches from the doorway, arms crossed, his posture confident but thoughtful. The lighting is bright and industrial, emphasizing innovation and teamwork. Claire's first week at the company was a whirlwind of activity. From the moment she stepped into the lab, she was thrown into a world of cutting-edge technology and fast-paced problem-solving. The team consisted of some of the brightest minds in engineering and robotics, each person bringing unique skills to the project. At first, Claire felt out of place, worried that she wouldn't be able to keep up after so many years away from the field. But as the days passed, her confidence began to grow. The lead engineer, Ryan Dawson, took it upon himself to show Claire around during her initial days. Tall and sharp-featured, Ryan had an air of authority that commanded respect. He walked her through the current progress of the project, explaining how the autonomous drones were designed to operate in challenging environments. They used AI algorithms to analyze structural damage, carry repair materials, and execute precise fixes without human intervention. It was groundbreaking work, and Claire couldn't help but feel inspired by its potential. But while Ryan was thorough in his explanations, he wasn't exactly warm. His tone carried a hint of skepticism whenever he spoke to Claire, as if questioning whether she truly belonged there. "You'll need to get up to speed quickly," he said one afternoon, handing her a stack of technical documents. "We're behind schedule as it is." "I understand," Claire replied calmly, refusing to let his attitude discourage her. "I'll do my best." Despite Ryan's occasional coldness, the rest of the team welcomed Claire warmly. Many were intrigued by her background in renewable energy, seeing her perspective as valuable to the project. Over lunch breaks, they exchanged ideas about how the drones could also assist in environmental restoration efforts, a concept that excited Claire immensely. Slowly but surely, she began to find her footing. Ethan checked in regularly, making sure Claire had everything she needed to succeed. During one meeting, he pulled her aside to ask how things were going. "How are you settling in?" he asked, his voice friendly yet concerned. "It's been overwhelming, but good," Claire admitted. "Everyone's been supportive except maybe Ryan. He seems skeptical." Ethan frowned slightly. "Don't take it personally. Ryan's under a lot of pressure to deliver results. Just focus on proving your worth and he'll come around." Claire nodded, appreciating his advice. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan saw her as more of a burden than an asset. Determined to change his mind, she threw herself into the work, spending long hours reviewing designs and running simulations. Her diligence soon paid off when she identified a flaw in the drone's navigation system, a critical issue that could have caused malfunctions during deployment. When she presented her findings to the team, Ryan raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "You caught that?" he asked, flipping through the data she'd compiled. "Yes," Claire replied evenly. "If we don't address this now, it could jeopardize the entire mission." Ryan hesitated before nodding grudgingly. "Good catch. Let's fix it." That moment marked a turning point in their working relationship. While Ryan still wasn't overly friendly, he began to treat Claire with more respect, acknowledging her contributions to the project. For Claire, it was validation that she belonged here, that her skills hadn't faded despite the years spent away. As weeks turned into months, the project gained momentum. The team worked tirelessly, testing prototypes and refining the AI algorithms. Claire found herself thriving in the collaborative environment, bouncing ideas off her colleagues in a dimly lit office late at night with Claire Monroe sitting alone at a desk cluttered with papers, blueprints, and a laptop displaying classified documents. Her face is illuminated by the soft glow of the screen, showing a mix of shock and concern as she reads something unsettling. In the background, shelves lined with books and tech gadgets create a professional yet tense atmosphere. The lighting emphasizes her focused expression and the secrecy of the moment. It was past midnight when Claire finally decided to call it a night. Most of the team had left hours ago, but she'd stayed behind to review the latest updates on the drone project. As lead engineer now, she felt responsible for ensuring every detail was perfect before the upcoming presentation to investors. But as she organized files on her laptop, something unusual caught her eye. A folder labeled "Classified." Curiosity got the better of her. She opened it cautiously, expecting to find technical specifications or test results. Instead, she discovered something that made her blood run cold. The documents revealed plans to adapt the drones for military use, surveillance, weapon transport, and even targeted strikes. It was a far cry from the humanitarian mission she and the team had been working toward. Claire's heart raced as she scrolled through the files. There were emails between Ethan and certain stakeholders discussing how the shift would secure additional funding. At first, she thought it might be a misunderstanding, but the evidence was undeniable. The project she'd poured her soul into was being repurposed for something she couldn't support. Her mind swirled with questions. Had Ethan known about this all along? Was this why he'd brought her onto the team, to lend credibility to a project destined for harm? She wanted to believe he wouldn't deceive her like that, but doubt gnawed at her. Determined to confront him, Claire forwarded the documents to her personal email for safekeeping and shut down her laptop. She didn't sleep that night, replaying everything in her head. Memories of their conversations came flooding back. His promises about making a difference, his excitement over combining infrastructure repair with environmental restoration. None of it added up with what she'd just uncovered. The next morning, Claire arrived at the office early, hoping to catch Ethan before anyone else showed up. When she found him in his office, sipping coffee while reviewing notes, she didn't waste time with pleasantries. "We need to talk," she said firmly, closing the door behind her. Ethan looked up, startled by her tone. "What's wrong?" "I know about the classified files," Claire blurted out, crossing her arms. "About the military applications. Why didn't you tell me?" For a split second, Ethan froze. Then he sighed heavily, setting his mug aside. "Claire, I can explain." "Explain? What?" she demanded, her voice rising. "That we've been building weapons instead of tools to help people? That everything we've worked for is a lie? It's not like that, Ethan insisted, standing up to face her. Yes, some investors pushed for military adaptations because they offer more funding, but I never intended to abandon our original mission, I swear. Claire shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. How could you let this happen? After everything you said about believing in me, in us, you're willing to compromise our values for money? It's complicated, Ethan replied, frustration creeping into his voice. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Without those investors, the project dies. No funding, no progress, no chance to make any kind of impact. So, you justify betraying the purpose of the project? Claire shot back. If we lose sight of why we started, then what's the point? Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking conflicted. I'm not saying it's right, I hate it too. But sometimes you have to play the game to get what you want. Once we're stable, we can pivot back to humanitarian efforts. That's not good enough, Claire snapped. You should have told me from the start. You shouldn't have lied. I didn't lie, Ethan argued. I just omitted certain details. I thought if I gave you space to focus on the work, you'd see how much good we could still do. Claire stared at him, disappointment etched across her face. Omissions are lies, Ethan. And trust is built on honesty, not half-truths. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of electronics. Both of them stood there, grappling with the weight of the conversation. Finally, Claire spoke again, her voice quieter but resolute. I won't stay quiet about this, she said. I didn't come this far to build machines that hurt people. If you won't fight for the ethical implications of this project, then I will. Ethan studied her, seeing the determination in her eyes. He knew she meant every word. For a long moment, he said nothing, weighing his options. Then he nodded slowly. All right, he murmured. Let's fix this together. What do you mean? Claire asked warily. I'll buy out the majority stake from the investors pushing for military applications, Ethan explained. It'll cost me, but I'll find a way. We'll redirect resources back to our original mission, the one you believed in from the beginning. Claire hesitated, unsure whether to trust him again. But she saw sincerity in his expression, a flicker of the man who had once inspired her to dream bigger. Promise me, she said softly. Promise me we'll stay true to the vision this time. I promise, Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. No more compromises. As they shook hands, a fragile truce formed between them. Claire walked away feeling hopeful yet cautious, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Rebuilding trust and the project itself would take time. But for the first time since discovering the truth, she felt like they might actually stand a chance. In the days that followed, Ethan worked tirelessly to renegotiate terms with investors, leveraging his influence and wealth to steer the project back on course. Meanwhile, Claire rallied the team, explaining the situation without revealing too much. Together, they redoubled their efforts, determined to prove that innovation could exist alongside integrity. Though challenges loomed large, one thing became clear. Claire and Ethan were committed to doing whatever it took to honor the promise they'd made, not just to each other, but to the world. A tense scene inside a high-tech lab at night. Claire Monroe stands near a workstation, her face pale with shock as she examines damaged drone components scattered across the floor. Behind her, Ethan Carter kneels beside a broken lock on a storage cabinet, his expression grim. In the background, glowing screens display error messages and security alerts while red emergency lights flash faintly, creating an atmosphere of urgency and suspicion. The room feels chaotic, yet eerily quiet, hinting at sabotage. The weeks following Ethan's decision to redirect the project were filled with hope, but also tension. While the team worked hard to refocus their efforts on humanitarian applications, not everyone was pleased with the change. Some stakeholders grumbled about lost opportunities, and whispers of discontent spread through the company. Still, Claire and Ethan remained steadfast, determined to see their vision through. One evening, as the team prepared for a critical round of tests, disaster struck. Claire arrived early the next morning to find the lab in disarray. Drone prototypes lay dismantled on the floor, their delicate components smashed beyond repair. Cables were torn from walls and workstations had been wiped clean of data. It looked like someone had deliberately sabotaged months of progress. Her heart sank as she surveyed the damage. "What happened here?" she muttered under her breath, picking up a shattered circuit board. Before she could process what she was seeing, Ethan rushed in, his face tight with worry. "Claire, I got your message. Is it true?" He stopped mid-sentence when he saw the extent of the destruction. His jaw tightened as he took in the ruined equipment and scattered papers. "Who would do this?" "I don't know," Claire replied, shaking her head. "But whoever it is, they meant business." Ethan knelt to examine a broken lock on one of the storage cabinets where sensitive materials were kept. "This wasn't random vandalism," he said darkly. "This was targeted." The news sent ripples of panic through the team when they arrived later that morning. Everyone gathered in the conference room, their faces pale with disbelief. Claire stood at the front, trying to stay calm despite the anger bubbling inside her. "We need answers," she began, addressing the group. "Someone went out of their way to destroy our work. If anyone knows anything or suspects anyone, please speak up." The room fell silent. No one volunteered information, but Claire noticed Ryan Dawson shifting uncomfortably in his seat. He avoided eye contact, his usual confident demeanor replaced by unease. She made a mental note to talk to him privately later. As the day wore on, Ethan worked with IT specialists to recover deleted files, while Claire focused on assessing the physical damage. They discovered that key pieces of hardware were missing entirely, along with backup drives containing vital research. Whoever was responsible hadn't just wanted to delay the project, they wanted to cripple it permanently. That night, unable to sleep, Claire returned to the lab to review surveillance footage. Sitting alone in the dimly lit room, she scrolled through hours of grainy video until something caught her attention. Just after midnight, a shadowy figure entered the lab using a stolen keycard. Though the camera angle wasn't perfect, the person's build and posture looked familiar. Claire's stomach churned as realization dawned. She grabbed her phone and dialed Ethan immediately. "I think I know who did it," she said when he answered. "It's Ryan." Ethan. A sleek conference room bathed in soft lighting, with a large screen displaying advanced drone designs and humanitarian mission plans. Claire Monroe stands confidently at the front of the room, pointing to key features on the screen while addressing a group of investors and engineers. Ethan Carter sits nearby, watching her with admiration and pride. The atmosphere is professional yet inspiring, with attendees nodding in agreement and taking notes. In the background, glowing images of drones repairing infrastructure and aiding disaster zones emphasize innovation and hope. The investigation into the sabotage continued, but progress on the project couldn't wait. With renewed determination, Claire and Ethan pushed forward, rallying the team to rebuild what had been lost. They worked late nights and early mornings, piecing together new prototypes and refining their designs. Slowly but surely, the drones began to take shape again, better, stronger, and more focused on their original purpose. Then came the breakthrough. While reviewing security footage one evening, Claire noticed something she'd missed before. A reflection in a window revealed a second figure lurking near the lab during the night of the sabotage. It wasn't Ryan. It was someone else entirely. Tracing the movements captured on camera, they identified the intruder as an IT contractor who had recently left the company under mysterious circumstances. Ethan confronted the contractor, presenting the evidence and demanding answers. Under pressure, the man confessed he'd been hired by a rival corporation to sabotage the project. Their competitors feared losing market share if Ethan's drones succeeded, especially since the shift toward humanitarian applications made them uniquely valuable. The revelation shocked everyone but also galvanized the team. Knowing that external forces were trying to stop them only strengthened their resolve. With the saboteur exposed and legal action underway, the team poured all their energy into finalizing the project. Every detail was scrutinized, every test run meticulously documented. Claire became the driving force behind the effort, ensuring that no shortcuts were taken. Her leadership inspired those around her, earning respect even from skeptics like Ryan, who began contributing ideas to improve efficiency. Finally, the day of the Global Tech Summit arrived, a platform where innovators showcased groundbreaking solutions to real-world problems. Ethan and Claire stood side by side backstage, watching as engineers, investors, and journalists filled the auditorium. Nerves buzzed in the air, but Claire felt calm. She knew they'd done everything possible to prepare. When it was time for their presentation, Claire stepped onto the stage, greeted by polite applause. As she began speaking, her voice steady and clear, the audience leaned forward, captivated. "Imagine a world where disasters don't mean despair," she said, gesturing to the screen behind her. Images of collapsed bridges, flooded towns, and broken power lines appeared, followed by animations of drones swooping in to repair the damage. "Our autonomous drones are designed to reach areas humans can't access quickly or safely. Using advanced AI, they assess structural damage, transport materials, and execute repairs, all without human intervention." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "But this isn't just about fixing infrastructure. It's about restoring hope. These drones can deliver medical supplies, purify water sources, and even plant trees in deforested regions. We're not just rebuilding, we're renewing." The audience erupted into applause, many rising to their feet. Ethan watched from the wings, pride swelling in his chest. When Claire finished her speech, he joined her on stage to answer questions from the crowd. Together, they fielded inquiries about scalability, cost-effectiveness, and ethical considerations, addressing each concern with transparency and confidence. By the end of the presentation, the response was overwhelming. Investors lined up to discuss partnerships, while engineers praised the ingenuity of the design. Journalists hailed the project as a beacon of innovation, proof that technology could serve humanity rather than harm it. Backstage after the event, Claire and Ethan shared a quiet moment alone. Exhaustion showed on their faces, but so did triumph. "We did it," Claire said softly, smiling at him. "Against all odds, we actually pulled it off." "You did it," Ethan corrected, returning her smile. "Without you, none of this would have been possible. You saved this project not just technically, but morally. You reminded us why we started." Claire shook her head modestly. "We saved it together. I couldn't have done any of this without your support." For a moment, neither spoke. The bond between them had grown stronger through challenges and victories alike. Though they hadn't discussed it openly, there was an unspoken understanding, a connection forged in trust and mutual respect. As they packed up their materials and prepared to leave the venue, Claire glanced at Ethan thoughtfully. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we keep going," Ethan replied. "This is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do, so many lives we can change." Claire nodded, feeling a surge of excitement. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, like she was exactly where she was meant to be. And as they walked out into the crisp evening air, surrounded by congratulatory messages and calls for collaboration, she realized something important. Success wasn't just about achieving goals. It was about creating opportunities for others to dream bigger, too. In the weeks that followed, the project gained international recognition. News outlets covered its potential impact, calling it a game changer for disaster relief and environmental restoration. Governments and NGOs reached out, eager to partner on pilot programs. The team expanded, bringing in fresh talent and resources to meet growing demand. Through it all, Claire remained at the heart of the operation, guiding the project with wisdom and passion. Ethan took a step back from day-to-day management, choosing instead to mentor young entrepreneurs and advocate for ethical innovation. Their roles evolved, but their partnership endured, a testament to the power of perseverance and integrity. Though the road ahead would undoubtedly hold new challenges, Claire and Ethan faced it with unwavering optimism. Together, they had proven that even in a world full of obstacles, dreams could still take flight, if you dared to chase them. A serene rooftop setting at sunset, overlooking a sprawling city skyline bathed in warm orange and pink hues. Claire, Monroe and Ethan Carter stand near the edge, their silhouettes framed by the fading light. They are dressed casually but neatly, with Claire wearing a light jacket and Ethan in a simple button-down shirt. Their body language suggests a meaningful conversation. Ethan gestures thoughtfully while Claire listens intently, her expression soft yet reflective. In the background, distant buildings glow faintly, creating a peaceful and hopeful atmosphere. Months passed after the Global Tech Summit, and life settled into a rhythm of hard work and steady progress. The drone project flourished, gaining momentum as partnerships expanded and pilot programs launched worldwide. News stories highlighted its success in disaster zones, where the drones repaired bridges, restored electricity, and delivered critical supplies to remote areas. Governments and organizations hailed it as a groundbreaking achievement, one that could redefine how humanity responded to crises. For Claire, the journey had been transformative. She wasn't just the lead engineer anymore. She was a leader, an innovator whose ideas inspired others. Her name appeared in articles and interviews, praising her role in steering the project toward humanitarian goals. But despite the accolades, Claire remained humble. She knew the real victory wasn't hers alone. It belonged to everyone who had worked tirelessly to make the vision a reality. Ethan, too, had changed. Stepping back from the day-to-day operations allowed him to focus on mentoring young entrepreneurs and advocating for ethical innovation. He traveled often, speaking at conferences and meeting with startups eager to learn from his experiences. Yet no matter where he went, he always returned to Chicago, to the company, to the team, and especially to Claire. Their relationship had deepened over time, evolving beyond professional collaboration into something more personal. Late night strategy sessions turned into heartfelt conversations about dreams, fears, and regrets. Shared victories brought moments of joy, while setbacks tested their resilience. Through it all, they leaned on each other, not out of necessity, but because they genuinely valued one another's presence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan invited Claire to join him on the rooftop of his penthouse office. It was a place he rarely shared with anyone, offering a breathtaking view of the city they'd both helped shape. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain from earlier in the day. "You've come a long way," Ethan said as they stood side by side, gazing at the skyline. "I'm proud of everything you've accomplished." Claire smiled softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "So have you. You've done so much good. Not just with this project, but with the people you've inspired along the way." "I couldn't have done any of it without you," Ethan admitted, turning to face her. "You reminded me why I started down this path in the first place. You gave me purpose again." Claire looked at him, touched by his words. "And you gave me a second chance, a chance to prove to myself that I hadn't lost my way permanently. That means more than I can say." They fell silent, letting the moment stretch between them. The city buzzed below,